Divine greetings and gratitude, everyone. If y'all are new here, my name is Nuna. I am the Oracle, the Seer, the Witch, and the Wise Woman of the Saiyonan archives. Welcome to your new spiritual safe haven. And if y'all are returning, welcome to back to our sacred space. Everyone, I'm always honored, excited, and elated to be in your presence. Forgive me, I have been recording videos for the past couple hours now, and I am so tired. I need to get rest, but I got maybe about a couple more videos to edit. Well, not edit, but I got maybe another video actually to record, and then I'm gonna call it a night because, honey, it has been a long few hours. Anyway, so the reason why I'm here with you is because I wanted to talk about some oils and the Etherium that I'm using right now and why I am using them, of course. And then I'm also going to share some other things with you later on in the video. So why am I being called to even make this video right now? Why is it important? Well, the reason why it's important is because, for one, I don't spend enough time sharing with you guys why I use certain things, how I use them, and I also don't spend enough time telling you guys the things that I offer, the things that I create. And the reason why I didn't do that as much is because I don't like to sell things to people. I don't like to feel like I'm just wanting to hop on a trend, and I just don't like that kind of energy. So for me, I just kind of I'll offer it and say, hey, if you guys want to use it, go ahead. But I don't spend enough time talking about it because I don't want to fall into the category of always constantly trying to push something and always trying to sell something to someone. And I feel like it's out of that mindset that I've been integral, but at the same time, I feel like I have been kind of limiting myself when it comes to receiving the wealth and receiving the abundance and things of that nature. So I'm getting myself out of that. So forgive me if I'm coming off as being awkward. I don't like to talk about certain things because I feel like I don't want to be the one to sell you anything. So here's what I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm going to share with you the oils that I'm using. And if you decide that you want to work with them, you can. If you decide, no, I'll make my own, I understand that. But allow me to share with you what I'm using and why. So the very first thing that I'm using and that I will continue to use, that I will always use, is my spiritual protection oil. You don't want to be out here naked without protection. And I do feel like there are so many different ways that you can protect yourself. There are so many different things you can do. In fact, I believe that I'm going to make another video on how you can do that. But I want to stick to the oil routes and the candle route. Of course, I also have candles or whatever over here that you guys can also look into. I'll explain those maybe in another video. But I want to talk about the spiritual protection oil first, because first and foremost, spiritual protection is a non-negotiable. It is right there when it comes to spiritual hygiene. Spiritual hygiene is a non-negotiable, and spiritual protection is a non-negotiable. The reason why I say this is because you as an empath, you as an intuitive, you as someone who is sensitive, you know that there are energies out there that you yourself may not be able to see with the naked eye. You know that there are dimensions and energies all around us that we cannot perceive logically, that we cannot perceive with our naked eyes, right? And sometimes our intuitive eye, our third eye, which is really our first eye, doesn't always pick up on those forces. Sometimes there are forces around you that like to lurk. They like to sneak. They like to hide. They like to see what you're doing. And, they sometimes go unnoticed. Now, I do like to use the spiritual protection oil to protect myself from those energies, because I'm not always going to be able to pick up on everything, because if I was, what is the point of having the human experience, right? And I do feel that it is imperative for us as spiritual beings to protect ourselves, because again, as stated, there are so many things that are outside of us that we may not be able to detect. So using the spiritual oil is essential, because when you put that energy onto you, you then put the magic that you put into this bottle at that moment that you created it onto yourself, and then that energy then goes with you out into the world, and you radiate this energy of protection. It helps to uplift you. It helps to strengthen your discernment. It helps to protect you and repel any energies that seek to harm you. And the one thing that I love about about this oil is that it also does protect you from spiritual attacks, from future spiritual attacks. The reason why I feel that this oil works so good is because, for one, I hand selected, charged, and blessed each of the oils, each of the resins, each of the herbs and flowers, and I hand chose them so that they can work harmoniously together to give spiritual protection. Now, one thing that I'm going to say that I do not like and I cannot stand this, it is a pet peeve of mine, is when people be putting anything and everything in these oils, calling it a love oil, calling it a beauty oil, or calling it a protection oil. And it's like, how do you know that if you're not studying the plants, if you're not actually giving back to the earth, for one, but studying the plants, getting to know the herb's energy, getting to know the life cycle of these plants and these herbs? Like, why are you just putting anything and everything in these bottles and saying, oh, it's for protection? And then you wonder why your life is fucked up. Excuse my French, but let's be real. Like, there are so many people out there, I feel like, who just want to hop on spirituality and trends, and I'm going on a rant. Here I go. There are so many people that want to just hop on things because they think it's popular. But no, this shit is real. Like, this is a big deal. And I say that because I really want to ensure that everything that I use is intended for what I intended for. And everything that I put into my bottles, into my oils, are important and they work together harmoniously. All right. Now, one thing that I do want to say is that the way the oils work, right, you have your specific intention, and then that intention is amplified by what is going on in the stars, by what's going on in the cosmos. And what you do is you take the herbs and the oils and whatnot that will blend harmoniously together, that will work together, that will talk and communicate in the oils, right? That will talk and communicate with each other to ensure that they help us, to give us protection. That's the reason why they work. Sorry about that, you guys. My battery ended up dying, but we are back. So essentially what I was talking about was, right, is that whenever you are creating your oils, you want to make sure that, one, you have respect for the herbs and oils that you're using. You also want to make sure that whatever your intention is, that the herbs that you are using matches your specific intention. The reason why this is important is because you don't want to use just anything in your oils, because if you do, it could potentially backfire. Because yes, everything is energy. Everything has a spirit, whether it be a rock, a mineral, an essential oil, an herb, a plant, whatever it may be. If it's from the earth, if it is a living being, it has a spirit. Okay, you don't want to go putting anything and everything in an oil talking about, oh, it's a protection oil, or oh, this oil is good for purging and banishing. Like, I'm not going to use daisies, right, in a purge and banishing ritual and say, oh, this is going to work. No, for one, it would just be spiritually ignorant, is all I want to say, right? It is spiritually ignorant for you to go out and say, this herb or this flower is going to help me with purging and banishing because my mind says so it's going to work. Even though, yes, when you think about the law of mentalism, everything is mental, it does not mean that just because your mind says it will work does not mean that daisy is going to protect you, right? And, in all scenarios, right? A daisy may help you to tap into your own inner feminine. The daisy may help you to, enhance your beauty or something like that. But when it comes to actually protecting yourself spiritually, what I would use, if I'm going to do, let's just say, a purge and banishing oil, right? I'm going to use burdock root. I'm going to use castor oil, right? I'm going to use some black charcoal, right? It depends, right? Maybe some cayenne pepper, maybe some thorns, it really just depends. You want to make sure that you are utilizing the correct herbs that you were called to use, using your spiritual logic, as I want to call it. You want to make sure that you are not going into this ignorantly and blindly and just putting anything and everything and calling it an oil, because for one, it will be disrespectful to the plants that you're using. It will be disrespectful to your own energy. And to be honest with you, you really want to ask yourself, why am I doing this if you approach it with that kind of situation? Everything is energy. And that is the reason why when I'm making my oils, I am very careful and very selective and very picky as to what I use. Getting back to the oil. The reason why I'm using this oil is because I feel like, again, there's so many things that are happening now, and they've been happening, but we need them now more than ever, especially as spiritual beings. I also want to say this too. As a spiritual being, right? And I don't want to make this video just solely about protection, but I'm going to go with it because maybe it just needs to be talked about. As a spiritual being, you yourself are constantly picking up on energies. Because you're sensitive, because you're an empath, you can pick up on things, and sometimes we are not aware of it, and we tend to take on the very energy that is considered harmful, or maybe we take on the energy that is draining, or maybe we take on the energy that we need to be protecting ourselves from, right? And so what you do is you want to put this on your person, meaning you want to anoint yourself, your pressure points. You know, you can anoint the palms of your hands, you can anoint it upwards, you know, going up your arms, and you can anoint your temples, or, you know, you can anoint the soles of your feet to protect your path, or, you know, whatever it may be. You may want to anoint the back of your neck because that definitely is an entryway, but we're not here to talk about that. But you want to make sure that you are anointing yourself with oils like spiritual protection oils to keep you spiritually protected. Like, what else do I need to say? I also feel like this is something that I have had since the very beginning. One of my first oils that I created was a protection oil, because you want to make sure that you are out here protected. Now, one thing that I do want to say is that this is not only used to anoint my body. You can also use this to anoint any type of objects that you may use for protection. I'm not going to tell you what those are. I'm going to let your imagination run wild, right? I would also use this to anoint my car, right? Because I always want to make sure that I keep it, you know, on me, because of course, if I'm in my car, I want to keep myself protected. I may even use this to anoint obsidian and keep that obsidian on me after saying my prayer with the obsidian and charging it and saying, this is what I want to use to protect myself, and I'm going to carry that energy with me when I'm out into the world. That is why it is essential for you to be very careful with what you are putting in these oils, okay? Anyway, tangent over, I think. So basically, another oil that I'm using right now is, I want to talk about this divine feminine oil that I'm using. Listen, the divine feminine is on the rise, of course, and we are being called to honor our divine feminine, of course. I don't know if you guys are able to see that. I hope you were, but if not, I will link it down in the description box or in the comment section, and you guys can look at it from there. Okay, the reason why I am using this divine feminine oil is because I know myself, I struggled in the past a lot with honoring my divine feminine and whatnot. And I also wanted to create something, or at least update the recipe really, so that it can fit the time that we're in right now. The divine feminine oil, I feel like, is imperative right now, because as we progress, as we evolve, as we mature, and as we step into our divine feminine, we want to make sure that we are utilizing this energy in a very wise way, but we also want to ensure that we are honoring our divine feminine in its totality. I feel like I also want to mention that because we are in our divine feminine, we are being called to be empowered. This oil does help to empower the divine feminine. Even though this oil is not geared towards the shadow divine feminine, I feel like I'm going to create a different oil for that once spirit does give me the okay to do so. I feel like this oil does just help all around you tap into the empowering aspect of your divine feminine. If you are someone who is struggling with, you know, embracing your divine feminine aspect when it comes to speaking up for yourself, when it comes to magnetizing, when it comes to taking up space as your divine feminine, even though it only has one flower and one berry in it, these two work together so well, and it's so beautiful because it came like lightning. Oh my goodness. The ingredients that I was told to use, not told to use, but that I received from spirit to use were so amazingly potent. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't even realize how good it worked until I started using it. And let me tell you, it has been a game changer for me. When I tell you that I have really been deep into honoring my divine feminine, whether it be at home, whether it be out in the world, it is just on another level, just all around amazing. And the reason I say that is because it really does help you tap into your own ability to be empowered in your softness. And I love that. I love that. And the reason why I do is because for someone like me, I have a lot of fiery energy, and I used to lean more towards my masculine because that's what kept me safe. That's what kept me alive. That is what kept me going. That is what protected me. And I really needed something that was going to help me feel empowered in my softness when I felt like I needed it. And that is exactly the reason why I feel like this oil works so well. Oh my goodness. I love it so much, y'all. And then it smells so good. Even though I don't create my oils to be perfumes, I do create them with the intention that they help you during your magic, right? And that they help you during your ritual and during your ceremonies and whatnot. And I really do take pride in what I do because I feel like there's so much information out there. There are so many things that you can do. And, you know, people say, do it this way. You have to do it this way. One of the things that I do love about what I do is the fact that I take into consideration your energy as well. And I will always do that. Not only that, I will also make sure that whatever energies are going on astrologically, that I take that as well and I implement that into the oil, and I use the energy of the stars. I use the energy that I feel is necessary in order to charge this oil or these oils, and in order to help you amplify your magic. And I feel like I am a firm believer that you can absolutely work your magic whenever you feel like you need to, but I also feel like it is also important to work your magic as your intuition calls for, because your intuition will always catch wind of whatever you need first before you find an astrological reason, before you find any reason outside of you, if you will. At least that's how my intuition works. The way that I like to work with my oils is I will feel something first and I'll say, okay, what am I picking up on and why? I'll sit with myself. I'll ask spirit, what is this? Like, what do we need? And then I'll be guided to the very oil that I would need to work my magic right then and right there. Sometimes the oil that I'm being called to work with may be the wealth and prosperity oil. Other times it may be the divine feminine oil, or maybe it will be a conjunction of both. So it really just depends. And what makes these oils so unique is the fact that, for one, I love poetry. So y'all know at times I'm going to be saying some poetry or whatnot to amplify the energy, to charge the oils or whatnot. And that's just my own unique twist and spin. Also, because I am a poet, I do love invocations, and I do love to use invocations when it comes to charging, to awakening the oils or whatnot. You guys, there's some things going on outside. I'm sorry. I keep getting like sidetracked because there's some things happening. And right now it is currently 12:24 a.m. So they are probably out some doing God knows what. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So basically, yes, the thing about the oils that I have is that I really do love to work my own ritual. And I also will use the ritual that I am instructed to use by my spiritual team, by the divine, by my ancestors, and that's what makes it unique. I do not like to share a lot of my process, and the reason is because I don't want to commercialize anything that I'm doing. I do not want to fall into any type of popularity, and I just don't. Like, I feel like I need to protect my work. I feel like the work is so sacred. There are some things that I absolutely will share, but I will not share everything, because I will find that to be very disrespectful to my work and my practice, because it is so sacred. I do not like to share everything. I do not like to share my recipes. If I feel that I am using something that may be or may cause an allergic reaction to someone, like there may be someone who may be allergic to certain nuts, I will make sure that I disclose whether I'm using things like almond oil or whether I'm using things like nuts and whatnot, to ensure that I'm honoring your allergies and sensitivities, to make sure that you don't have any type of allergic reaction. Which is another thing I want to say. When you are using these oils, I highly recommend that you test patch on your skin in an area that you can hide, to ensure that you do not have a reaction, because I do not want you going into these things unsafe. I want to make sure that y'all are safe. The reason why I know for a fact that these oils work is not just because I myself have used them and I have seen them work for me. It's because I take the language of the stars and I take what is going on energetically, and I make sure that I infuse that energy into the oils to ensure that it is matching your intention. You have to be strategic and you have to be responsible when creating these oils. You have to be responsible, because if you are not, you don't know what you'll manifest. You don't know what you'll attract. And sometimes the lack of knowledge is the very thing that will cause your spells to backfire. It will cause your intentions to fizzle out if you're not doing it in a way that you need to, that is highly favored, and that also is divinely led. You want to make sure you know what you are doing. You don't want to go into doing this blindly. This message is for somebody. The fact that I keep repeating myself, I know it's for somebody. Okay? Now, the last oil that I'm using. The last oil that I'm using is the Wealth and Prosperity oil. And the reason is because, of course, I am in a space in my life where I am obviously fully dependent on myself, and I want to make sure that I grow and expand. I also want to ensure that I am calling in certain resources. I want to make sure that what I am investing in is going to be long lasting, that will withstand the test of time, and the very things that I'm creating and building are going to outlive me. So the Wealth and Prosperity oil absolutely is something that I feel is imperative, because it's not just about a quick grab for cash, right? I do have something there for that. It's called the fast cash oil. Very super potent ingredients that I use for that particular oil. But in this case, what I want to do is I want to build wealth steadily over time to ensure that it lasts. So the Wealth and Prosperity oil is a staple for me. It is a must. I will use this oil to anoint my pocketbook, to anoint my, to anoint my purse, if you will. I like to anoint my, some Federal Reserve notes. I also do like to anoint actual silver. Give me 1 second. I wanted to show you guys something that I also like to anoint. And the reason why I like to do this is because you guys know me by now. I do not like to rely on Federal Reserve notes. I do not like to rely on anything that is fictitious. I like to rely on things that are tangible. And you guys already know, if you guys don't know this, I am someone who's getting my affairs together. So of course, you guys know I'm all about collecting assets and things that can actually be used. I'm going to show you guys a silver coin that I got that I like to use in these workings, right? So if you guys take a look here, this is which one is this? This was created this year, actually, it looks like. $1, actually, it's 1 ounce of fine silver. This is what it looks like. Oh, I hope it doesn't like blind you or anything, because it's silver. Oh my goodness, I hope it doesn't. Okay, that's my gold, well, not my gold dollar, but my silver dollar. And I like to take some oil. I'm gonna do it right now, actually. I like to take some oil and I like to put a few drops. And then what I'll do is I'll just take it and then I'll just say like a prayer and whatnot. And then I'll just kind of anoint it going clockwise to bring in more wealth. I like to do this because I feel like for me, it puts the energy of wealth and prosperity onto the dollar, so that I can bring more of this to sustain myself, my family, as well as my community and whatnot, right? To give them high quality resources to help themselves. And I like to do this on both sides. So I'll anoint it and then I'll say a prayer, and I will focus my energy onto the coin to ensure that I am bringing in the energy of wealth, that I'm bringing in things that are real, right? And that is just one way that I use this oil. I also like to anoint my, my palms, because of course I want to bring in money, honey. And I also like to use it as a condition oil. Like if I know that I'm going to be talking or shaking hands with someone who's wealthy, not to take their energy, okay? We don't want to do that. That's weird. But what I will do is I'll anoint my hand and say, okay, even exchange. That way you can establish a relationship with someone who is also wealthy. That way you guys can build off of each other. You guys give each other ideas, and you just amplify the energy in the room when it comes to wealth, right? So if you want to enter into those spaces where you gain resources and you gain wealth and whatnot, you can use it for that. I have been around some very wealthy people, and I will say that this oil freaking works. I was gonna curse, I don't want to curse, but yes, I'm letting y'all know now, like, it is not to be played with. Now what I will say though is that because of the nature of the oil and because of what I use, wealth will be accumulated over time. For some of you it may feel sudden, and for some of you it will in a way manifest as $20,000, $30,000. You want to be very specific when you're using any kind of oil, and the reason is because if you are not specific, sometimes things may come in small little increments, and sometimes you may find yourself having to constantly rework the ritual, or you may find yourself having to constantly go back and fix something, or whatever it may be. In this instance, I would highly suggest that if you are using these oils, that when you are setting your intention, that you are very specific. You want to be specific. Now, this may or may not be controversial. I do not feel like you always have to write it down. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes You speaking it out into the universe is all you need. You take the oil, you anoint whatever you're going to anoint, and you speak it out loud, and that is what will help to seal the intention. And I say that because not everybody wants to write it down. Some people like to speak. I am one of those people that I feel like I don't have to write everything down. All I have to do is say, Spirit, Divine, I am calling out to you now. You know exactly who I am speaking to, with reverence, with respect, and whatever you're going to do. And I like to actually speak my intentions out loud. I don't always write everything down. Sometimes I will speak it and it just happens. Why? Because I just vibe that way. It's just the way that I vibe. You don't have to write everything down. For some of you, you may be called to dance. You may be called to, and this is going to lead into another video, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about that here right now. But you may be called to set your intentions in a different way. You may want to set your intentions by utilizing your oils and whatnot and speaking it out loud. Or maybe you want to draw something, or maybe you want to write, or maybe you want to paint, right? Maybe you want to use your oil, right, to anoint your paintbrush, and you want to anoint it towards you, right? That paintbrush towards you. And maybe you want to use your Wealth and Prosperity oil to anoint that paintbrush, right? Or to anoint that pencil, towards you or whatnot. So when you're doing the working, or when you are in the act of creating your art, right, as a form of ritual, you want to make sure that it's going to bring you wealth and prosperity. And so you use that oil to anoint your tools, so that when you're doing it, you are actively in the space in your mind where you're saying, this art is going to bring me this, or this art is going to bring me that, but you're doing it using ritual. It's all up to you, right? And I do feel that sometimes when you're using certain oils and whatnot, it actually can help to speed up the process, but only when your energetic field is able to carry the magnitude that comes with, right? So that is what I'll say. That is what I'll say to that. I feel like I just gave a bunch of information, and I hope that I did not just overwhelm you. I hope that I didn't. But anyway, that is essentially what I'm using right now. I also do have other oils that I may be discussing later on, that I will be discussing later on. I'll explain to you why I created them, how they work for me, how you can use them in your own rituals, what kind of candles you can use them in. If you guys have any questions about any type of herbs that you can use that, for protection, or any type of herbs that you can use for love, or, romance and whatnot, let me know down in the comment section, and I'll make sure to make a video for that. And yes, these are the oils that I'm using. This is the reason why they work. Again, I'm very specific about what oils I use when I use them. Also, I'm specific about the herbs that I use, when I use them, why I'm using them. I get to know the plants. I get to know the plant's energy. I let them know, what kind of time I'm on. I ask them for their energy to help me with whatever I'm doing, behind the scenes. And that is how it worked for me. It just does. It always has, and it always will, actually. And yeah, I've been doing this for quite a while now. I have been doing this since, I want to say, I've used oils for so long. It's been since, I want to say it's been since I was in my teenage years. I had this whole theory. This is a quick little tidbit before I go. I used to work my magic in a different way. I used to create oils for my hair right when I was wearing my hair out, and I used to always say to the oils, yes, I'm gonna use you, you're gonna help me grow my hair, before I was really even deep into my craft. I'm not even kidding. And so I always had this theory where if I said that my hair would grow using the oil, then my hair would grow. Sure enough, it did. And it's so interesting to see how that magic is playing out now that I'm deeper into the occult, that I'm deeper into working my own magic, that I am deeper into creating my own path and my own system of magic that I'll be sharing with you guys over the course of time. Of course, I'm not going to reveal everything now, but anyway, yes, it's so beautiful to see how it's playing out now. And I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of my creations. I love them. I love them. And other people have also used them, and they've gotten what they've needed. And that is the part that I love, that I don't talk about enough. I feel like I should start talking about that enough, but I don't like to feel like I'm boasting, so I don't talk about it a lot. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for, tuning in this long, and thank y'all for sticking around, listening to me talk about oils that I'm using and why. And I would like to invite you all to take a look at the Etherium. I do not operate in commerce, but I will offer you the essential, and you will provide me or give me a fixed donation that will be stipends for me to continue on with my missionary work as I serve the collective to help them transcend beyond their pain and their suffering. Again, I do not operate in commerce because as me having a 508c1a, I am exercising my right to commune with my community because we are in one accord and we are pursuing happiness. So anyway, I love you guys. If you guys need anything from me, please feel free to visit me online over at thesayyonampath.org. If you guys want to, you guys can follow along with me on TikTok and Instagram over at Magic of Eden. I love you guys, and I will catch you in my next video.